What's up? Today you're gonna learn the top 3 most vital chess opening principles. They work in any and every chess opening in every game that you play. And they're either unknown or misunderstood by many, which is great for you because it gives you that competitive edge against most of your opponents. And the first one is don't drop the f-pawn, which means in chess, don't move your f-pawn, okay? Let me give you an example. Let's say we go into the so-called perk defense, okay? Black goes knight f6, attacking this pawn on e4. And very often people will play in this or any other position, moves such as pawn to f3. And what I want to emphasize here is that moving your f-pawn either to f3 or all the way forward to f4 is almost always incorrect in an opening, regardless of whether you play white or black, okay? What's the problem here? Well, there are a couple of problems. First off, you weaken your king, exposing it potentially to some troubles in the future. Secondly, that takes away that natural development square for your knight, so you can't develop normally. And if you develop your knight to e2, it's going to block your bishop out in the future, okay? And it is really unnecessary to play that move pawn f3, because instead you could easily play knight to c3, still defending this pawn on e4 without any risks, without any downsides. And sometimes students tell me, hey Igor, but Carlsen played f3 in one of his games and he won, blah, blah, blah. And it is all right, I got it. But, let's face it, Carlsen is an alien who was sent from another planet to test our mental abilities, or maybe to shake our confidence in our mental abilities, I don't know. But he's a standalone case, so let's focus on our stuff. And in our case, it is more important to make sure your king is safe and you don't get in trouble early in the game. Let me show you another example. The problem is sometimes even an opening theory tells you that you may play the move, pawn f5 or pawn f6, let's say, if you're playing black. Even in this position, you can play pawn f5 and it's called the Dutch defense. It's a known chess opening. So what's wrong with that? Well, again, you're taking those additional unnecessary risks. Because, for example, white can challenge that f5 pawn right away by playing h3, preparing for the move pawn to g4, and if black usually goes knight f6 trying to stop it, but white pushes pawn g4 anyway, and already black feels some troubles here on the king side. Black usually captures this pawn, and after knight captures on g4, white plays queen d3, suddenly attacking this pawn on h7, which is currently attacked twice. The most common move of black would be knight to f6, trying to solidify their position, but that doesn't do the job, because after rook takes h7, white actually wins the game with this beautiful sack, attacking the rook, and after black recaptures with their either piece, here comes queen g6 with this quick checkmate in just 7 moves. Of course, black could have played better and should have played better, but anyway, there is simply no point in taking that additional risk. That said, there is one noticeable exception. If you're a subscriber of this channel, then you have my special permission to play the move pawn to f5 against white's attempt to play the Italian game against you. In this case, not only you may play that, but I even encourage you to do so, because that will encourage your opponents to drop the f-bomb after losing numerous games to you within just a couple moves. And if you don't know what the Russo Gambit is, you may check out this video later. Here comes the second vital opening principle: do not develop your queen early in the game. For example, in the Scandinavian defense, after white captures here on d5, most of your opponents will capture with their queen takes d5. And it is kind of wrong, because it allows your opponent to now develop their pieces with a tempo, forcing your queen to keep dancing around. And after that, white can gain even more tempos. For example, after queen to a5, there is a gambit line where white gambits the pawn, and after that goes rook b1, activating the rook and getting more and more tempos for their development. So this is a clear downside of bringing your queen out too early. Now, most players have heard of this rule, don't develop the queen too early in the game, but they don't know what to do instead, okay? Because let's get it back. Let's say here after the first move, pawn e4, pawn d5, and after white recaptures, black may think to himself, okay, I know that I shouldn't develop my queen, but I got to recapture over here, right? So I need to move my queen out, so, right? We're going to take it one step further. Instead of doing that, there is a very simple life hack. If there is a need for you to do something outside of your territory, let's say, you're simply going to need to use another piece for that, right? So instead of capturing immediately with the queen takes d5, black could easily play knight f6, and after that recapture this pawn with a knight, without any downsides, while developing their knight and centralizing it. So that's what most players don't know, really, and that works across many different openings, not just in this position, Okay. By the way, this particular opening variation is pretty good for black. I've got another dedicated video about that. You may check it out later. Just to illustrate the point, also here, black can use the same thing in different positions, okay, right? Let's say in the Sicilian defense. Sometimes white's going to play pawn f4, some sort of Grand Prix attack, and black can still break open the center of the board with the move pawn d5. It's actually a good move to play. And after pawn recapture, again, instead of what everybody plays, queen takes d5, you got to play a smarter move as black, playing knight f6 and using your knight to recapture this pawn without any downsides, having even a better position out of the opening. Let me show you one more common example. In the French defense, after black goes pawn a6, white has these two knights variation, pawn d5, knight to c3, and here most common way for black to react here is to trade on e4, and after that black goes knight to f6. That's the most popular move of black in this position. And although normally knight f6 is a normal developing move, in this position there is that downside that we've been talking about, and as you can see, most players completely overlook this thing because they do play knight f6. And after this trade on f6, you have to expose your queen here, which, as we know, will give your opponent some extra tempos for his attack. For example, after bishop to d6 or whatever, white can now start chasing your queen around with the move bishop g5, develop one bishop with a tempo. After queen goes away, now white gains one more tempo for his development, and after queen to h5, white can even attempt to capture the queen completely with the move pawn to g4. And if black is careless, white's going to play that move pawn g4 and capture the queen. And regardless, even if black finds the way to escape with a queen, anyway, white got a lot of tempos for his development. Now let's take it back and let's see how you can play smarter. Instead of playing knight to f6, which will then force your queen to go out, you can ask yourself, how can I accomplish the same task using another piece instead of my queen? So how do you do that? Well, for example, you can play bishop to e7 and then develop your knight to f6 so that if white recaptures, you don't have to bring your queen out. You can do that with a bishop. Or another alternative, you can do that with the other knight. You can play knight d7 to support that square. And again, after white goes d4, knight f6, now the other knight controls this square, so that if white captures, you don't have to bring your queen out. You can simply recapture with the other knight and you're completely fine. Someone said good things come to those who wait. And this is particularly true with today's video. I'm going to share with you the single most important opening principle. And if you get it, you can literally skyrocket your results, especially if your rating is below 1400. I guarantee this has the power to skyrocket your results in no time, right after watching this video. And even if you're high rated, it's going to still be useful. So let me show you something. This is the most common error of players on a below 1400 and even below 1800 rating level. Okay, so let me make a couple first opening moves here. These are actually, by the way, the most common chess opening moves. And let's get out of this position. In this position, one of the very common moves of white is the wrong move queen to f3. Now, why do white players play that move? First of all, just a quick spoiler. The correct move is first taking over here, knight takes f7, and that gives white a nearly winning position. Why would white player play queen to f3 instead? Well, it makes sense because that hits this f7 square, that hits the knight here on d5, and it looks like, all is bad for black. And this is kind of true, but there is one clear problem with this. It hands this knight on g5. So white completely missed the fact that black could simply capture the knight, right? And that ends white's attack. And after queen takes g5, actually black gains the upper hand. Now black has the advantage instead of white achieving a winning game. But that's not the end of the story. So let me show you a couple more moves. After queen takes g5, white captures bishop takes d5 here, attacking the square of 7. And guess which move is the most popular for black at this position? It is the move bishop to e6. And once again, right now, black has a good position. Bishop e6 is a blunder that loses the game instantaneously. So on the previous move, white made a major blunder. Now black commits the same major blunder, which actually gives black a completely lost position because white can now capture over here on c6, and after this trade, queen comes here to c6 with a double attack, winning the rook. End of story. Again, let's take it back. And let me show you some other options available. Instead of that, there is a stronger move for black, knight to d4 with a counter blow. It counterattacks the queen and the pawn. And although white can capture the pawn, it's just a single pawn. White cannot develop their attack. And now he has some problems to solve. For example, knight takes c2 is a threat attacking the king and the rook. And it's really interesting to see that in most games, white actually overlooks this threat or makes some weird errors. One of them is trying to defend this pawn by playing knight to a3. Again, it's a perfectly fine move, generally speaking. It defends the pawn, but it completely overlooks the fact that black can simply capture this knight, and therefore, after that, knight will come to c2 anyway. What's the problem with all that? Well, let me show you the funniest trap, I think. Not really the trap, but the error. A lot of players actually played pawn to d3 here as white, thinking that they're attacking your queen. And it's all good, but it works both ways. So black can actually now capture on c1, and there's going to be checkmate in one move. So that's a little subtle downside of the move pawn to d3, right? But that's not the end of the story, because in most games, black actually didn't capture on c1. They instead played knight to c2, missing their chance to win the game in one move. Now, how come that relatively strong players keep blundering massively at every turn, literally, changing from white wins to black wins and all the way around? Here's the thing. Very often people tell me, Igor, how do I visualize variations for longer than 2-3 moves ahead? I cannot do that. How do I develop that skill? And I usually respond, you may not need to, right? You just have to calculate 1-2 moves ahead. None of your opponents are probably doing that. And if you start doing that, you have numerous opportunities to win games just like this, just like we've been talking about. Your opponents blunder so frequently. And if you just start calculating 1-2 moves ahead, you can spot those errors, take advantage of them, and win. Again, so just realize that, first of all, I'm saying this not to kind of criticize you in any way. I'm saying this as a friend, as a coach, to help you spot those opportunities. Because probably you are making a lot of errors like that. And if you start calculating a little bit, you will be able to avoid them. Because think about this. If white plays here pawn to d3, right? It's not a matter of tactical vision. It's not some deep calculation or combination that black needs to commit here. It's just a one move, right? Queen takes c1, end of story. The problem is white just didn't calculate it through at all, right? Same thing with, let's say, knight to a3, another error. It's not that there is some very deep calculation that you need to visualize for many moves ahead, or some really intricate tactical motif that you got to be aware of. No, it's a two-move calculation, right? So the knight defends these pawn, so first black eliminates the defender, then grabs the pawn, and that wins the rook at the end of that. So calculating 1, 2, 3 moves ahead is all you need in most cases, okay? Just start doing that. The way to do that is, instead of just playing the move knight to a3, let's say if you're playing white, ask yourself, what are the aggressive responses of black? Ask yourself that question. If you want to play knight to a3, you don't have to care about all the moves of black, right? If black plays some move, I don't know, bishop e7, that doesn't really do much. You don't have to worry about that. But ask yourself, what are the aggressive moves of your opponent? How can he create troubles for me? And you do check those 1-2 moves available from your opponent, making sure that you don't blunder, right? So doing so, calculating 1-2 moves ahead makes a big difference versus no calculating at all. If you found these ideas to be helpful, then you may wish to get my course, The Grandmaster's Secrets, where I also break down those key principles of the middle game, end game, and calculation. So basically you have that all-round knowledge about chess within a single course, and if you're interested, you may click the link below the video and check it out. Either way, I hope that was useful. Let me know in the comments below how you found this video, or if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.